Hey everybody. So sorry we are so late. Having difficulties with the Wi-Fi here at the house. So I was able to get stuff working and hopefully we are good to go now. And if not, that kind of stinks. So hopefully everything works well from here on out. But thank you guys so much for being here. I'm glad y'all are here. It is very exciting to have you guys. And hey Emily, how are you? Good to have you here with us. And so as we start off tonight, I know usually you guys see Gary, but with me here, but he is on location as we're calling it, and we do have some stuff from Gary throughout the night that we'll be able to have you guys to see Gary some. So he'll be going out throughout the night, popping up here and there for you guys. So just so you know, that's what we'll be doing for tonight. And boom, Leah says, hey Leah, how are you? Um, so if you're looking for both of us, sorry to disappoint. Just me for now to see some of Gary later. And first thing I want to do though is show on Monday was, I guess it was Monday, was May the 4th, be with you. And so got two pictures here for you guys to see. And so I will bring that up here now. The first one that we have here is, look at this bad boy. Boom. Check out that get up. Darth Vader is wearing his mask, protecting from said virus. So well done, Darth Vader. Can anyone guess who that is? Any guesses? I kind of like to know. But so there's your first one. He's got a sweet setup there, celebrating Star Wars Day the way it should be done. And then here is another one for you guys. And we have one more. And this is actually from Gary himself. And Sir Gary, he got to do a Devo that he recorded the other day. And here's his. He brought out his classic Millennium Falcon and brought that out, or Millennium Falcon, as some with the accent would say. And he brought that out to teach with. So it was awesome and very exciting. So glad that was there. Sorry, this thing is yelling at me for some reason. Okay. Dear heavens. And then here we go. So there's Gary's picture. And so that's what's going on there for right now. So thank you for those pictures. If no one has any guesses, that first one was Zach. He was all decked out. It looked fantastic, and I loved it. Celebrating Star Wars Day as it should be. And then Tuesday, Tuesday, it was Revenge of the 5th, or Taco Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo. Who ate tacos? That's what I want to know. Who had tacos on Taco Tuesday? It was honestly, we didn't, but probably would have been great if they did. And but so we're going to keep going tonight as we continue on with our evening. So first thing I'm going to do is bring up our first video here, and we're going to go live with Gary somewhere else. And like you said, he is on location. So check out this from Gary. We've been up to a bunch of things and just trying to see what's going on. So so here we go.
Thank you, Efren. I'm here on location in the youth room. It is day 947 of quarantine, COVID-19s. And we're going to go through the closet here and just see how things are. We haven't been in here in months, so we're going to see what we got in here. So come along with me. Let's see what we got here. Oh. Okay. All right, so we're here in the closet. We're just going to see what we have in here. Different things. Wow, this is pretty overwhelming. Oh, gosh. We got some concrete there. Who knows what is being planned in here. There is still not word on what the intention for this sauce is. We're still trying to figure that out. We have buckets of vegetable oil, crushed tomatoes, and large jars of Peter Pan, creamy, not crunchy peanut butter on the closet there. Yeah. Oh, what is that? Some type of snake skin? I don't know. Should we open the closet? I mean, the refrigerator?
Do it, Gary.
Yes? Okay. Let's see what that. Hold on, folks. This could be a lot. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Wow. All right. Oh, my gosh. We got diet cheer wine. I don't know. This is it's pretty breathtaking, Efren. And yeah, back to you. You know, Efren, it appears after observing this closet a little bit more, there's red decorative plates, there's an abundance of hot chocolate and candy canes and a jar of cherries. It appears that whoever has stocked this closet may have robbed the North Pole. We may be accomplices. There's even an elf in the corner. I'm going to question him and see what his story is. All right, back to you.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate all that goodness. And yeah, so there is way too much stuff in our closet, and we haven't been there, and it's still getting worse somehow. But there you go. Yes, Zach, I do love how we still have 2,000 plus packets of hot cocoa. We have yet to use it. Sounds to me like we need to use it. I know we're going into the summer, but who cares? Let's use it, right? We have way too much in there, but appreciate Gary bringing that to us. And so today we're going to be talking about God being for people, and that is what we're going to be talking about throughout the night, and more visits from Gary and other things like that. But we're talking about God being for people. So one thing that I want to ask first is, and just get some answers from you guys, is have you ever been given the silent treatment? So ever been given the silent treatment? Now, I know sometimes this is what people like to use to make others do what they want. And it is something that I know some of you hate very much. But for me, like, I guess I'm just a jerk. I don't know really what to say about this. But when people give me the silent treatment, I'm just like, all right, fine. I guess I just won't talk to you till you're ready to talk to me. And I just kind of don't let it bother me, just because I'm like, if you don't want to talk to me, then we'll just do something else. Like, I have no idea. But yeah. So what is it for you? Like, I mean, for me, like I said, it's not that. I guess the only person really, if they give me the silent treatment, that it really super bothers me would be Katie, because I'm afraid that like she's just over there like making a huge list of things that I've done wrong, and doing a huge list of, and like just going through and just planning like my demise, and if she ever did off me, like no one would ever know. And so I am kind of worried about that kind of stuff. But I just wonder if and what some of your guys' thoughts were. But a couple of things based on from a little bit earlier. Let's see. Rachel says Christmas in July party. That's actually a fantastic idea. I am going to have to write that down. Well, now it's on here, so I'll just go back and watch it and make sure I write it down later. But Christmas in July, that sounds like a great idea. See, Cole says yes, his mother and everyone in his family gives him the silent treatment. So Cole, how does that make you feel? Like, do you just like, whatever, no one bothered me, but I guess everyone in your family gives it to you. So, man, that kind of stinks. So Jamie says, does it count if people ask me to be silent? I mean, if they ask you to be silent, that's still silent treatment, right? And their loss. That's all I got to say. So, yeah, so anybody else, like what happens? So let's see, Maggie says she's more like me, doesn't really bother her or Daniel when someone gives them the silent treatment. Yeah, Maggie, thank you for being on board with where I'm at, because like it's like, all right, fine. If you want to be quiet, then fine. I have time to myself. Maybe if you think the same thing, time to yourself. So that'd be something that would be awesome. It'd be easy, and so nice to know there's other people like me who aren't bothered by it, because sometimes I really thought I was just weird. So, and then going back to the hot cocoa, because there's a lot of it. Zach says, "Hey, could we have frozen hot chocolate?" I have no idea how to make that. If you know how, let me know. And then maybe we could do something like that. So when we talk about the silent treatment, that's something that usually ends up happening because there's like a fight or there's a disagreement or something. We're just angry with someone. We're just like, hey, I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to talk with them. The next question would be, what's the biggest fight you've ever had with a friend or family member? So put that down there. What's the biggest fight you've ever had with a friend or family member? And this is something that it can be anything. Like I remember, like good and well, like me and my sister, like we love each other and all that stuff, of course. But what's crazy about me and my sister is that there would be times where we just straight up would just be really, really like angry at each other, and we just go like it'll get physical. We start fighting, and my sister knew that like her best chance against me was to keep me at a distance. So she just started like kicking like crazy. And if I wanted to do anything about it, like I had to get around her kicks and like wrestle her to the ground and like try to choke her down. So there was a couple of times me and her had those kinds of things. And like, I'm not gonna lie, there were times that when she was kicking and she was moving fast, it was just like, all right, you win. Like, cause she's a beast. And but there were times where I was just so angry where I just like found a way around and I took it to the ground. So and on most of the time it was just over like name calling, because you know how siblings are, like they really know how to hit, if you have them, they really know how to hit those buttons where you're just like, where like if other people do stuff, it may not bother you, but they know how to hit you where it hurts, like nice and deep. And that's how it was with my sister and I. And so how about you guys? Like, where are you guys at with some of that? For biggest fight. Zach says it doesn't really bother him as far as a silent treatment, unless it's someone that I'm really close with, like his closest friends. So yeah, so I guess like the relationship that you have makes a huge difference. It really does. And so some of that argument may be in the same way. If you're right now thinking like, maybe I can't think of a big fight, that's probably a good idea, a good thing. Maybe you've gotten over it, or maybe it just didn't really happen. If you have and you don't want to share, I understand, but maybe just be thinking about that. You know, what is the biggest fight? And as you're thinking about that, we're going to go back to our man Gary, and he has some more news for us. So we're going to go back to him while you think about that. We'll come back to this question and see if you guys have any more answers to that. But Gary, if you don't mind, go ahead and sharing with us what you got, my man, and then we will continue.
Thank you, Efren. I'm here to do the weather, and I'm here to tell you to prepare for what could happen. Here, through our... Thank you, Efren. I'm here to report on some of the weather. You need to prepare. It could rain. It could snow. We could have a storm come upon us. It might be sunny. It might be slightly cloudy. Either way, sunscreen is good. But we got a cold front coming right here through Afrique. Be prepared for that. You may need a poncho. Back to you.
Well, thanks, Gary, for that, and letting us know that a cold front is coming. One actually is, and it's not coming through Afrique. It's coming right to us. But thank you, Gary, and we will come back to him later. So thank you for that. Let's see. This is from Daniel. He says, I have seen many fights at school and I get out of the way. Probably the smart thing to do, Daniel. Well done, sir. Yeah, if you see stuff going down, you just want to avoid conflict. That's probably for the best. I understand that. Zach says he normally tries to avoid conflicts, but he can't even remember the last time he fought with any of his friends. Hey, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. There's no need to have, like, if you can avoid the conflict, if you can deal with it, if you can work it out ahead of time, that's just kind of the best way to deal with it. Because if we end up feeding into that kind of stuff, I mean, you'll get a reputation. A lot of you guys know my testimony, where my reputation was just constantly violent and fighting and lots of anger. So that's not the reputation you want to get. And let me tell you, it's hard to shake that reputation once you have it. So Zach, that's actually not really a bad thing. So tonight we're talking about God being for people. And so when we think about that, but God being for people, why do you think it's so easy for us to make it me versus them? Like when we look at this idea of God being for people, sometimes we think like, yeah, of course, like this is what we're about. This is what we need to be looking at. This is what Christianity is about what God has done for us and what we need to do for other people. But it's really easy for us to start drawing lines, isn't it? It's really easy for us to say, hey, it's me versus them. It's me. And it can be over anything. It can be something as simple like what Gary talked about last week as a sports team, or maybe it's arguing over who's the best musical artist of your choice when it doesn't really matter. And then, or it could be something easier like they don't believe in the same politics you believe in, or they don't agree in the scriptures the way you agree with, or they just don't, they don't act the way you want them to act, or they just act a certain way you don't want them to come around. So either way, like why is it so easy to make it us from them? Let's see. Going on the last one, Maggie says, she's similar to Zach. She doesn't like getting into fights with her family or friends. She does disagree, but she tries not to let it elevate to a fight, which is a great way. Like you try to avoid those things. But why do you think it is so easy to have those divisions? There are so many times where people will come in and just start drawing lines, right? Like this is what we love to do. We draw lines around lots of things to give reason for us to differentiate us from other people. And because of that, we want to just continue making more and more. So why do you think it's so easy? So if anyone has that in the comments, let me know like some of your thoughts. Why do you think that is? And while you're thinking of that, on why it's so easy to make it me versus them, Gary's got a quick upgrade. Now, this is something that I think could bring a lot of people together. This is Gary giving us a little I forget what it's called, like a little something from the Humane Society kind of report. So here you go.
Who wants this dog? Who wants this dog?
There you go. So boom, there is a dog. Who wants them? In case y'all didn't know, that's Nacho. But there you go. Nacho was running around the church, and so who wants them? There it is. So so that was very quick. But anybody else, any thoughts on why it's so easy to make it us versus them? I would love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you guys got before we move to our next section. So is it the fighting that's wrong or doing it in a hateful way? And I think that is a good question to bring up. Like is the fighting, like I guess the word fighting might be a little too strong because like we all will disagree, right? We all have different opinions on things, and yes, there's certain facts and truths and stuff, but we all disagree at some point about something, right? Like we're going to disagree. Disagreeing, which I think is what Chris is getting at here. Like disagreeing, it isn't something wrong with disagreeing with somebody. It's when you are going into that hateful manner. It is when you're starting to get more, whether it's physical or just have that hatred in your heart. And you got to remember that Jesus said that if you even have anger in your heart towards your brother, you've committed murder. Like there's something there about your heart position and your heart issue that makes it right or makes it wrong. So if you're saying like, is the fighting that's wrong? Like maybe not so much fighting, but disagreeing is not wrong. But if you're trying to escalate the fighting in a hateful way, you have malintent and malice in your heart. That's when it really becomes difficult. And Jamie says focusing on self makes it easy to make it us for them. And she wants Nacho to add to her 30 animals that she already has. But yeah, I mean, just so much focus on yourself, which could cause even more disagreements or fighting. Zach says he thinks fighting's wrong. Having discussions about different things is not. Yeah, like you don't want to get to that anger, but there's nothing wrong with talking about it or trying to bring it out. Maggie says we feel so strongly that we are right and get annoyed with people that don't agree with us. Wow, Maggie, that is such a huge point, and that's great. That's awesome. Like it's so true. Like we feel so strongly, we feel so passionate about things, and then we feel that, man, I have all the facts. I know it all about this subject or whatever it may be. I got it all figured out. And when people don't agree, it gets really, really hard to want to like love those people, be around them. Like it's a lot easier just to be like, all right, fine, you're on that side of the line, you were wrong, and now you're my enemy. Like we have got to work this out, or I got to do everything I can to make you come to my side. And so that makes it hard. So so we have those things, and like Jamie was saying, like we have the focus on self, we have the focus on the anger getting built up in us, or we have the strong passion, or feeling strongly as Maggie has up here, and it just really makes it easy to make it me versus them, and to make it to where it's easy to fight. And so those are the things that we're going to be continuing to talk about. But before we go on to that point, we have another. Gary's going to recap kind of a little bit of the Bible story, get us caught up to where we're at. So to where we're at now. So here is Gary to recap the Bible story for us in about 3 seconds as I get it ready.
I'm here to recap some of the story for us tonight. So Abraham had a whole bunch of kids. He had a lot of kids back then. God said, I'll make you a nation, and it'll be great, and you'll be blessed. Blessings are good. And then Abraham went on and did other stuff, and then he had other kids that did some other stuff. It's in the Bible. Just read it. And then, long story short, Moses. And if you'd like to know what Moses did, once again, the Bible. He did a lot of things. There's also a really good movie on Netflix or Hulu, one of those, called Prince of Egypt, that tells the story of Moses really well. He went and freed the Israelites, and then they wandered around and stuff for a while. And then instead of being a blessing, Israel hurt and oppressed others, which is not good, which I'm told is the theme of the night. God, we are called to be for others. So that brings us to Jeremiah. He's a prophet. Back to you, Ephraim.
Thanks, Gary. So Gary, in his typical fashion, gave us a nice little recap of what was going on there. And so, so we're getting caught up. Like, we're kind of moving through scripture here quite a bit. Obviously, we skipped a whole lot. But yes, listen, if you haven't checked out Prince of Egypt, go do it. Fantastic cast. Obviously, they did a really good job staying pretty darn close to the real story. Great songs. For those who like musicals, you know how I feel about musicals. But Prince of Egypt is where it's at. So go check it out, either on Hulu or Netflix, or you can borrow it from me. Either way. So I want to go on here. And Daniel pointed out fighting is wrong, but we need to talk it out instead of fighting. Chris brings up, he says, Christians should not be silent when the truth makes people mad, as long as you say it in love. Yes, that is a huge point. You can't back down from truth, but you can't try to speak truth and be a jerk. Like, you have to do it in love. This is why he says we must speak. This is why Paul talks about we must speak the truth in love. So it may make people mad, but we have to make sure we do it in a right way. Jamie says, James 4:4, why do you fight and quarrel? It is because your feelings are fighting inside of you. That is why you fight. So like, maybe check our own feelings, check where we're at, is what James is pointing out. Thank you, Jamie, for that. Maybe there's things that you're trying to work out yourself. You have your own issues that you're trying to work out, and that's what makes it hard. So as Gary said, we are now back into, he's caught us up. We're into Jeremiah. This is a point where Israel, they're slaves to Babylon, and they are not happy about it. They're living there. They're not in their homeland. They are not happy at all about where they are at. They see everyone around them as enemies, and they're causing a lot of fights and quarrels. And then enter Jeremiah, and he's a prophet who's coming in from God, trying to tell people how to live differently and how to live out their punishment, essentially. I mean, they were captured by Babylon because they didn't obey God. They didn't worship only him. They worshiped other gods, and there's just a bunch of stuff they did wrong. So God allowed them to be taken captive by Babylon. And so Jeremiah is now trying to speak to them, be like, listen, like, this is the punishment you get, so you need to be able to live it out. And so we're going to be looking into Jeremiah here, and we're going to be in Jeremiah chapter 1 to see what he's saying. And what's crazy with this is Jeremiah speaking this again to people who are being held captive. And this isn't the best, the things you want to hear, I guess you should say. It's kind of like what Chris was saying. He's like, yeah, you got to speak truth and you got to speak it in love. But here's where we're going to pick up first, Jeremiah chapter 1. So it says, this is the words of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests of Anoth in the territory of Benjamin. The word of the Lord came to him in the 13th year of the region of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah. So essentially they're giving the background, saying, here's Jeremiah, here's a prophet, here's when he came about. So here's what Jeremiah says. It says, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Alas, sovereign, God speaking to Jeremiah. Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am too young. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord. And the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. So the reason why we go back to this is that God is talking to Jeremiah. He comes out, he says, he's like, listen, I have set you, Jeremiah, apart. I set you from the womb. You're apart. You're going to be my prophet to the nations. And, he's scared. He's like, I'm young. I don't know how to speak. Like, no one's going to listen to me. Maybe you guys feel that way. Maybe you feel like you're too young. You feel that you are not, no one's going to listen to you. But God's like, listen, don't worry about it. You just do what I tell you to do. Go wherever I tell you to go. And I've put my words in your mouth. So he's setting Jeremiah up for this, and he is saying, like, here's what needs, so here's what you're going to be doing. Now, Jeremiah is known as a wailing prophet. He is known to that because he prophesies, and then he is, he knows like no one's listening. No one cares about what he has to say. And because of the way they are acting. So we are going to go to Jeremiah 29 and start in verse 4. Read this first portion. It says, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says to all those I carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there. Do not decrease. Also seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. So this is something that, again, like I said, they are in Babylon. They're taken captive. This is something that they're trying to fight against, this regime, if you will. So just imagine for a second that now, the United States has been taken over by a foreign power. All right, like it's totally different, and now we have to do everything they say, everything they do. How would we react? Like, I'm sure you guys are thinking, we see it in movies and stuff all the time. Like, of course, there's going to be a rebellion. We're going to rise up. We're going to take our land back. And of course, this is exactly how Israel was thinking. We're going to take our land back. And then Jeremiah flips it on his head and gives them something completely different to say and to do. So what are the things that he says? He says, hey, get married, have kids, make sure your kids get married so they can also have kids. They say, pray to God for Babylon. Pray to God for Babylon. Like, pray for your oppressors. Now, that's something that a lot of people don't want to hear all the time. But he says, pray to them, because if they prosper, you'll prosper. So this is something that's like, listen, like, I can still work through this. And this is a callback, too, to everything that happened with Moses, and in Exodus and in the end of Genesis. Like, the Hebrews, they lived in Egypt because of Joseph. And then over time, they grew so much, Pharaoh got scared, made them all slaves. But while they were in Egypt, God grew them into a mighty and huge nation, like in the millions, like grew them to this mighty, strong nation. That's why they were feared. And God took care of them, even though they were in a terrible situation. Same thing here. Terrible situation, but God's like, listen, I can still take care of you. I can still help you. I can help you prosper, but you got to pray for the people around you. You got to pray for Babylon. Pray that they prosper so that you will also prosper. And then he's like, and I'll take care of you while you're in exile. Because remember, this whole exile, this is because Israel has forgotten God. Israel has pushed God out of their mind. So what God has done, he's put them in a situation to say, okay, now all you have is me. So come back to me. He's trying to throw them into a situation where they have nowhere else to turn but God. But they were still fighting against that. But he's like, no, don't do that. And he says at the end there, seek peace and prosperity. Seek peace. That's what you have to do. Seek peace. So what does this look like? This means everyone around you, be friends with them. Talk to them. Like there's someone around you that don't look at them as your enemy. Don't keep making this divide of us for them. Set it up differently. And this next portion here we're going to go read is Jeremiah 10 through 11. It says, this is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So that last verse, I'm sure you guys know all the time. You hear it all the time in different places, and it's usually used out of context. But here's what God is saying. Like, he's speaking to Israel, and he's saying, like, listen, you have 70 years. All right, you got 70 years here. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. Get to know the people around you. Be good to the people around you. And then and he's like, listen, I have plans for you, Israel. Like, listen, the nation of Israel, I have plans for you. Yes, this happened. This is a consequence of your actions. But you know what? I still got a plan for you. And I got a plan to prosper you and to bring you back to me. And he says, I'm not trying to harm you. I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm trying to give you hope in a future. But that hope and future is only there if you come back to me. And see, in that verse, Jeremiah 29:11, it really shows us two main things. One, that God is for people, like he's for us. All right, because he says, this is what the Lord says. He says, I am the Lord, and I have plans for you. He is for you. All right, then he's for other people. He's for the whole people. It's like, I have plans to prosper all of you. And this is something that, again, is contradictory to what one would think. But God's like, listen, just settle down. You got 70 years. You got to see this punishment through. You get to see this whole thing through. But I got plans on the other side. So don't continue to fight people. No, this is something that gets difficult for us because we think that God can't, that God won't help us, or he can't. And what we're seeing here is that he is for the people. Like, he's telling them, like, live at peace with the people around you. Yes, you're in their land, but live in it, prosper, plant fields, garden, marry people. Like, come on, like, just get used to where you're at. But for this to happen, the Israelites have to stop looking at the Babylonians as their enemies and stop looking at them as, oh, that's them over there, they're not us. They have to start saying, hey, we're all children of God. And so they got to coexist with these people. And this ends up being very difficult. But this is something that David says, Psalm 103:8. This is something that David says. He says, the Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. And I'm actually going to continue after this because this is great what he says here. He says, he will not always accuse, nor will he harbor his anger forever. He does not treat us as our sins deserve, or repay us according to our iniquities. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his love for those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. So listen, like, this is like God, he has tons of grace. He has tons of love. And he's saying, like, listen, he doesn't hold anything against us forever. He doesn't treat us as our sins deserve. Like, this is what David, he is saying, like, and this is a time when David is just like he's kind of at a low point because with Bathsheba and stuff, like, but he's like, listen, this is where, this is how God is. He has this kind of love. So the question for you guys is, what's one situation, relationship that you need help responding to someone the same way God responds to you? So what we just read here in Psalms 103, this is how God responds to us individually. He doesn't hold sins against us. He's not angry with us forever. He says he won't harbor it. So essentially God doesn't hold a grudge. All right, so he won't do that. He's compassionate. He's gracious. He's slow to anger. He abounds in love. He will not accuse us. So like, as far as east is from his west, he will separate us from our sins. So like, this is the stuff, like, as far as the high as the heaven, great is his love for us. Like, listen, David is painting this beautiful picture about God in the Old Testament now. The Old Testament God, same God we have today, how loving he is and how he treats us. So what's one situation, relationship where you feel you need help responding to someone the same way God responds to you? Because if God is for us, for this people, his creation, well, guess what? He's also for other people. And so therefore we must be for other people. We want to show them God. So what's the situation? What's your situation where you feel that you need help responding to someone the same way God responds to you? Now, I know for me, like, I'll come out and say this first, like, it makes it really, really difficult when someone wrongs me, right? Like, whenever we feel wronged, and this happens when I feel like someone has wronged me, and it's really hard for me to respond to them the way it says here in Psalms, right? It is really difficult, and it makes it really tough. But this is how I need to respond. Yes, the people around me may not be doing the best, like Jeremiah in the situation with Israel. It may not have been the best. Those people have treated them horribly wrong, but we still have to turn around and treat them, and that's in the way God has treated us. So, what is it for you? When is it? When do you need? What's the situation or relationship? If you don't want to call someone out, like, just say, like I did, the situation. What is the situation that you need help responding to someone the same way God responds to us? Because what we get, we need to give out to others as well. While you're thinking of that, Gary's gonna give us a quick little talk about John 3:16. So go ahead and listen to this while you're thinking of that and thinking of, what's one way that I can respond better. So here's oh man, if I can get Gary on here. Here we go. So here's Gary giving us a little something for John 3:16.
Hello, WWE. This is Gary Hall again, sending you another tryout video. I hope you're receiving my videos. On today's video, I will be doing my impression of Stone Cold Steve Austin. 1 second. Well, the first thing you gotta do is get that piece of trash out of my ring. You sit there and you talk about John 3:16. Well, let me tell you, Austin 3:16 says
Well, Gary got his videos mixed up, obviously, and he was giving us Austin 3:16, which is not needed here. We were trying to do the opposite. We're not trying to fight people or argue people. We're trying to show them God's love. So we all know John 3:16 and 17. We know that God so loved the world, he didn't come to condemn it, but to save it. So if that's the way God is responding, how should we respond back? Um, so if you guys have any of that, any ideas to that, it'd be great to hear that. And again, it could be even just a situation like I said earlier. When I feel someone has wronged me, or I know they have wronged me, or being malicious towards me, it's really hard for me to treat them the way God has treated me. It's very hard. My temper likes to flare up inside of me. I usually clam up now. That's how I kind of control my anger. But I clam up and I just kind of distance myself. And that's not at all how God reacts, does he? Like he doesn't stop speaking. He doesn't clam up and distance himself from us. He actually does the opposite. Um, so so what are some ways that you need help with that? And so a couple of things that I want to do, just to kind of wrap things up here for you guys, is just when we talk about this kind of thing, like how can we show that we are actually for people? How can we do that? How can we practically go towards people and really show them like God is for them, and how can we show them that? The first one I want to put up is resolve conflict, right? Like I know sometimes we try to avoid conflict, which is fine. Like as long as you avoid conflict in a way where you're trying to be understanding, you're trying to listen to people, you're trying to see where they're coming from, and therefore a conflict doesn't arise. That's fine. But some conflict is healthy. Like conflict is also another way just to say disagreements, right? So some conflict is healthy, but make sure you always resolve conflict. Like there's something going on. If you know someone's angry with you, like we're told in Matthew 18 by Jesus, like go to the person and do it. We're not supposed to let the sun go down on our anger. We're supposed to go to them and try to work it out. So at all costs, try to resolve it, because the world around us, like resolving conflict, whatever, you get yours, you fight, you make sure you show everyone you're top dog. And that's all there is to it. Like you strong arm people, but that's not the Christian way. We need to go to people and work those conflicts out. That's what we need to do. The next one would be, we need to make a friend. Like there are a lot of people out there who are extremely lonely, and people can say what they want, but the fact of the matter is people are lonely. So go make a new friend. Staying just in your own little friend group and only talking to them and not bringing anybody else in. That is exactly why so many people are feeling left out, why so many people feel like they don't belong anywhere, because sometimes Christians do a great job of looking inward and looking, just what we have here, and we don't want to bring other people in. So go out, make a new friend. Just show someone that, hey, I care about you. Let's hang out. Let's talk. And maybe that's what they need to really blossom and to really see that God actually loves them, because you took the time to make a friend. So do that. So go outside, maybe make a new friend. Maybe when all this is over, find someone new. Or maybe you have someone in your neighborhood that isn't out there all the time, or isn't, doesn't have a lot of her. Go make a new friend. Another one is learn from someone new. This one will help us to not only learn more and gain more wisdom, but gain different perspectives from people. Like, listen, if we're listening to the same 4 or 5 people at all times, we're only going to, and we know they align with what our viewpoints are, we're never going to learn anything new. We're just going to get reinforced constantly of what I already think. We need to learn from someone new, maybe get challenged a little bit, and see from someone new what it is that they have. What's their perspective? Just find someone new to learn from. And the next one is share what you have. Like, listen, like there's here in America, we have so much. You may feel like you don't have a lot, but you have a lot. And there's always someone that has less than you. And yeah, there's someone who has more than you. It just depends on where you're at, but there'll always be someone who has less. Like, I always think about it this way, because sometimes when you say share what you have, people are like, this is what I have, and I don't have much. I think of the movie Aladdin, right, by Disney, the Disney movie Aladdin, the classic cartoon, and how Aladdin has nothing. He is a street rat. It's him and Abu. They're stealing for food, right? We're at the beginning after his first song, I guess. He has his piece of bread, and then he sees these kids that have nothing. So he, rips the bread. Abu has his. He sees his bread. He hands it to the kids to eat. So like Aladdin had like nothing. He literally had nothing. That's all he had was the bread. Abu was like, no way. He takes a huge bite. He doesn't want to give it to him, but he eventually gives it to him. But but Aladdin, he just says, these kids have it worse off than me. So he gave up what he has, and that's how it should be for us. No matter how much we have or how little we have, we should always be willing to share what we have for other people. And this is how you start showing other people that, hey, I'm for you, and God is for you, and there's something bigger and there's something better for all of us, and we just need to follow Christ. So this is a great way. Like, so if you want to look through that, like resolve your conflict. Like, don't let things go unsaid. Don't start the arguments. If there is an argument, just resolve it. Like show them like, hey, it's bigger than our argument. Life is so much bigger than that. And then of course, make a new friend. If you haven't done that in a while, make a new friend. Just think about the times where you needed a friend and nobody wanted to bring you in. Don't let somebody else have those same feelings. Make a new friend. Learn from someone new. Learn a different perspective. Learn a different history of somebody. Learn to see things from a different viewpoint. Open up your mind a little bit, because if we just keep listening to the same voices over and over and over again, you're not going to be able to really learn anything new. You're just going to keep hearing what you want to hear, and then that doesn't really help in the long run, because there are a lot of things in Scripture that tell us things that we don't want to hear. And if we're not accustomed to listening to things and taking into account things that we don't want to hear, we will never actually grow and learn anymore. And of course, share what you have. Doesn't matter how little you have or how much you have. Share what you have. Like give up of yourself constantly, through even your material possessions. So that'd be a great way to do that. Chris puts up here, he says, blessed are the peacemakers. Jesus, Sermon on the Mount. Absolutely. Like this is like those last points. I mean, that is peacemaking. That's what it is. Like you want to be blessed by God. Like, listen, be a peacemaker. And those points that I just point out, those 4 points of practicality, that is a great way to be a peacemaker and to be blessed by God, as Jesus pointed out. So do those things. And this is how you are able to show people that we are for them. And because listen, if Christians don't show other people that we are for them, they're never going to believe that God is for them. So we need to be able to do that. So I really appreciate all you guys being here tonight with me. Like I said, Gary, he was out. He had a lot of things to do. So I do appreciate Gary and his time to film those goofy videos and to get us through the evening as well. Next week we'll have a little bit different setup, hopefully, and we're hoping to be able to bring new things to our live stream as we have set up now. We like what we have, but we want to keep improving. So make sure to keep checking us out every Wednesday. And this is something that honestly, I'll go ahead and tell you guys, we are hoping that we continue to do live streams even when we're back together, to hopefully, so when you guys are out because you're sick or too much homework or you're out of town with your parents and you feel like, man, I'm missing out, I still want to be a part of youth group, I still want to know what's going on, you can still log on to YouTube and check us out and see what's happening. And we're hoping that this will help us even kind of switch up how we do youth group so we can connect with people online. And then listen, if you want to invite your friends, I know inviting your friends is scary, to bring them into the church building. This is an opportunity for you to be like, hey, why don't you just check us out on YouTube first, see what you think. And then if you want to come with me, I'll pick you up or whatever. So we're going to keep trying new things with this live stream. And thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's see. I see that there's more comments coming in. I see Daniel says he was a bit scared of making new friends in 7th grade and 8th grade, but he made some friends. Hey, Daniel, that is awesome. That is great. It is very scary to try to talk to new people. It's scary to try to make new friends. But like he said, he did it. He made some new friends. That is exciting. I'm very excited to hear that for you, Daniel. And listen, like everybody needs it. Daniel needed those friends. You need those friends. Other people need them. So go out there and make a new friend as well. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for being a part of this and being, and again, just check out, we'll have a video uploaded again, a little Sunday Devo, no more than 5 minutes for you guys to check out. And we are going to continue trying new things and hopefully have something fun for Monday. I want to try this Monday night murder mystery. So I'm going to try to get that stuff to work. I will give you more info on that later. So maybe we can all play a murder mystery game together while we are social distancing. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll be a part of that. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. I love you all. Can't wait to see y'all again.